Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining me today. As always, if you are new to the channel, my name is Tim. This is Freight Master Resources, where we provide tips, tools, resources, industry news to help you grow and be more successful in the freight industry. So today's video kind of comes sort of as a result of, I know that, everybody wants customers. Everybody's been hitting me up, asking for tips or, helping them find a niche and things like this. But kind of on the other side of that coin is that there are some of you who maybe have one or two customers and you're not really effective, right? If that's maybe the right term. It's whether it's getting loads covered or acquiring more freight from those couple of customers that you have, and maybe that's all they have, right? But there are some of you that, and some of you I know personally, that have been in this industry long enough to know better than to not be working on your relationship skills as a freight broker, okay? And as I mentioned in previous videos, your carriers are also your customers, okay? Just like you are their customer, okay? But we are intermediaries. We are middlemen, right? So your shipper is your customer, your carrier is your customer. And by building and strengthening those relationships, that will ultimately help you grow and be successful in this industry. So I wanted to go over 5 key points, 5, not 4, 5 key points to building relationships with your carriers and with your shippers, okay? Before I jump into that, I actually have, I need something back from you guys, okay? And that is some feedback. I have kind of been working on some ideas of putting together, and I'm not sure how to present it, or even if you guys would have enough interest in it. I'm actually working on 2 different courses, one being a freight broker training course, and the other one being sales prospecting as a freight broker, right? And it would be basically, they're both complete courses. And I
unknown caller.
Oh, I forgot to turn my phone off. I apologize. So I'm thinking that I would probably start with the sales prospecting course. And I could do this one of 3 ways. I could put it together as like an ebook. I could make it as like a PDF download, or I could do a video series on it, going over each module, right? So let me know your thoughts on that. If you would be interested in seeing or downloading or reading something about that, and which format that you would prefer it in, because I would really love everybody's feedback on that, because I think it's something that would be very beneficial to everyone, at least in my mind, in my humble opinion. So let me know what you think. Drop me a comment down below, okay? So without any further ado, let's get into today's video on building relationships, okay? Building strong customer relationships is key to success in freight brokerage, just like any other service industry, but there are some key points to focus on. The first one we're going to focus on is for your carrier relationships, okay? And these are the 5 things, the 5 key points that I want everybody to kind of absorb here, okay? Number 1 is be reliable and trustworthy, okay? Carriers need to know that they can depend on you for accurate information, fair rates, and on-time payments. All right. Always follow through on commitments and be transparent in your communication. Okay. This also goes along with, and I should have included this in my notes, this goes along with being available after hours, right? If you want to work 9 to 5, go work at McDonald's, right? Or some other job. Go work at a bank or whatever, a department store, or work at a factory. This is not a 9 to 5 job, right? It's not that type of a career. If you have a carrier under a load for you, and it might be 10 o'clock at night, I've gotten calls at 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, and they were surprised that somebody answered the phone, because carriers have gotten so used to just getting a voicemail or talking to somebody in after hours dispatch that has, well, I'll make a note of that, but they're absolutely, it's pointless. It's useless, right? They're not really offering any solutions or, anything for the driver. Okay. So if you say that, and actually I've talked to a few carriers here lately that have run into this, one of them being a very good friend of mine, and, had a problem with a load, had to reach the broker, and actually they tried to reach them even during hours, right? It's okay if obviously you could have multiple lines going on at once and you can't answer every call, but call back. Okay. It's just with all, put yourself in their position, right? If something happened, during, while that load is en route, that driver's en route, and something happened, wouldn't you want to be able to contact your broker, right? So put yourself in their shoes for a minute. All right. Number 2 is listen to their needs. All right. Understand what lane preferences that they might have, what equipment types that they're running. Some fleets, even if they're small fleets, like, maybe 10 trucks or less, maybe they've got a couple of dry vans, they got a couple of flatbeds, and they got a reefer, right? And rates work for your carriers. This will help you find loads that are a good fit for them and keep them happy. This goes back to, I've mentioned multiple times about, if you have a semi-regular lane or a regular lane with a particular shipper, and you've got a carrier that you like that's reliable, they've got great communication, they're turning their paperwork into you, right? They're letting you know that, hey, if there is an issue, they're contacting you right away versus after the fact, and then you can't maybe do anything about it. I have run into that, and even with some of my good carriers, they're like, well, I guess they should have called, but we worked it out. But yeah, listen to their needs, right? And then, maybe you find let's say you got a load picking up out of Dallas that goes to Seattle, regularly. You've got a really great carrier that you like to work with, but it's only one way, right? Help them out by finding a customer in Seattle or in that, near area with a load that comes back to Dallas, and put together what we call a dumbbell, right? And it saves them a lot of time, headache, hunting and pecking for loads that may or may not get them back to Dallas in time, right, to pick up that next load. So, help them help you, essentially. Okay. Number 3, minimize deadhead miles, right? Carriers waste money on time driving empty trucks. Try to find loads that keep them moving in the right direction. Okay. If you've got a carrier that's, say, based out of Miami, and, they do a few loads from you from time to time, try to find loads, customers with loads for them as close to Miami as possible, right? So that they're not deadheading maybe 150 miles to go grab a load, or 100 miles. You wouldn't want to do it. So again, help them help you. Number 4, offer competitive rates and on-time payments. All right. Call me crazy, but carriers are in business to make money, just like you are, just like your shipper is, right? Offering competitive rates and ensuring they get paid quickly will help them come back for more loads. right? So make sure that you're paying them in that 30 days or less, right? And while most carriers factor, which I hope you're factoring with Operfi, I love Operfi, by the way, make sure that you're paying them. Don't let that stretch out to 40, 50, 60 days. They're just going to end up filing on your bond, and it destroys relationships. Okay. And number 5 is communicate openly and honestly. All right. Keep carriers informed about any issues with a load and be upfront about rate changes. Strong communication builds trust. Okay. And don't try to hide details on loads. Okay. If you know a specific detail about a load, or maybe a shipper or receiver ended up having to change their appointment time, make sure you let them know that. Don't let it be a complete surprise, right? It's not like a surprise birthday party or something, and they're going to be happy about it, right? Let them know, hey, I know we had that scheduled for 11 a.m. delivery, but the receiver, something happened, they're not going to be able to get you until 1, or something. Or, hey, if you can get there early, they can offload you early. Otherwise, they might not be able to get you offloaded till 3, right? So things like this can happen. So make sure that you're letting them know in an expedient manner. Okay. All right. Now, moving on to your shippers. And these are the 5 key things to help you build good relationships with your shippers. Right. Number 1 is understand their needs. Okay. Just like your carrier, same goes for your shippers. Take the time to learn about the shipper's business and their specific shipping requirements. Right. This allows you to find more efficient and cost-effective transportation solutions for them. All right. Number 2, offer competitive rates and excellent service. There are a lot of freight brokers out there, so you need to stand out from the competition. Offer competitive rates and provide excellent customer service to keep shippers happy. Now, what I mean by that is don't be the cheapest out there, right? But oftentimes my shippers know that I'm not the cheapest, but I'm also not the most expensive, right? So if it means making 15% profit margin on a load versus a 20% profit margin on a load, go with the 15%, right? But make sure that also you're paying your carrier a competitive rate by doing that, right? Number 3, be a reliable partner. Okay. Shippers need to know that they can count on you to get their freight delivered on time and damage free, right? And this goes along with communicating with your carriers, right? Making sure that they know all of the requirements, because they may not tell them at pickup, right? Does the load require straps, or does it require load bars? Going back to produce, making sure that, I think probably most produce carriers understand it. Like, for instance, like one of my examples that I commonly use is that corn needs to be iced, right? But not all do. And so make sure that you let them know that. All right. Always follow through on your commitments and be there to address any problems that may arise. This goes along with addressing any issues that might happen with the load while it is in transit, right? While it is en route. Your customer, reassure your customer that you're going to do everything possible to address any problems while that load is in transit, right? And sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. I can think of, just as a quick sidebar here, we had a load, pick it up in Pennsylvania? No, New Jersey. I'm sorry. It was in New Jersey. And driver showed up. It was like a 6 p.m. Pickup, and driver got there, and the shipper, like there was a skeleton crew there, and I don't know what they were doing, smoking dope on the other side of the building or something or what, but they just weren't there. Nobody was answering the phone. Nobody was answering the door, and, nothing. So rather than me call the customer and say, hey, there's nobody there, right? That's always a last resort, right? I kept calling, I kept emailing that shipper until I finally reached somebody. And I mean, I immediately, as soon as I got voicemail, I kept calling back. They probably got tired of hearing that phone just, going. And eventually I did reach somebody. We got the driver loaded and moved on. Customer called me the next day and actually said, hey, I just want to let you know that I appreciate you, following through on that. We found out that there was actually some, an issue with the driver getting loaded on time, and, I was, in a meeting or something like that. I don't remember what it was. They were away, and it would have been really difficult for me to, handle that. So I appreciate you not just, throwing that back on me to, reach out. Right? Because we're more than just typing up rate confirmations and posting loads, right? At least we're supposed to be. And so let's see. Number 4, communicate proactively. Keep shippers updated on the status of their shipments and let them know about any potential delays. Okay. Open communication builds trust and keeps shippers informed. Okay. This, oh, that was one of my carriers texting me, asking me if I had another load for them. I got to get back with them. This goes along with, like my previous example, which I do believe I did send the customer a text on that load out of New Jersey, or I sent him an email or something just so that they were aware of it. But he didn't see it until after the fact. But anyway, this is like, utilizing things like tracking. Okay. And, making sure that customers being informed. Sometimes shippers don't want to know. They don't care about the tracking. Some want, to see that update on the tracking, but, hey, let them know, because the load might not even be picking up at their facility. It might be picking up somewhere else. Let them know that, hey, driver got loaded and he's rolling, right? Or let them know, hey, driver blew a steer tire, got to get it fixed. He, probably going to be like an hour late for delivery or something. You know what I mean? There's numerous things that can go wrong out there. Your fault, their fault, nobody's fault, but keep your customer informed. They're going to appreciate that. Don't try to hide bad problems because you're afraid that they're going to be upset with me. They're actually going to appreciate the fact that you communicated with them, that you are being open and honest with them about the issue, right? And that you've got the problem under control, right? That's what you're there for, okay? And number 5, last but not least, but be responsive, okay? Return calls and emails promptly and address any questions or concerns that shipper may have, okay? Make sure they feel like you are a valued partner in their supply chain. They might have a last minute requirement on the load that they forgot to relay to you, right? And if you're not returning those calls, emails, texts, whatever, you know what I mean? That can create potential issues, not only for your shipper, but for your driver. And then it ends up being a headache for you as well. Okay. So, basically, in conclusion, by focusing on these areas, you can build strong relationships with both carriers and shippers, which lead to being successful in the freight brokerage business. Okay. Again, I really hope to get as much feedback as possible from everybody on the freight sales prospecting that I'm working on. And then we'll maybe address the freight training, the freight broker training, which would go along with agents as well. Afterwards, I know I'm working on both, but let's get one done first and then move on maybe to another one. Again, don't forget to check out my recommended tools and services in the description down below. These are all tools and services that I use, that I recommend. And again, if there's anything that you guys need that I don't have listed, right, let me know. I try not to bombard the description section with a ton of links, right, with my tools and recommendations. But these are, it's just a couple of my true favorites that I thought that I would share with you. So I hope everybody's having a great day. I hope you found this content useful. And with that, I'll go ahead and sign off. And as always, be kind to one another. Bye-bye.